In your opinion, you were around when this came out, and you've seen a couple decades worth of it. What were some of the unintended consequences that came from the CRLTO when that was introduced over time?
Well, I'd like to respond to a kind of a side issue, and then I'll answer your question directly. We have a graph that we put together that shows the amount of legislation being thrown our way now. And the amount of anti-housing provider actions and legislation, not all tied to COVID, some tied to COVID, but the amount of the volume of initiatives that are burdening our industries is increased not exponentially, but dramatically this year. And we'll get to that. But in terms of that longer term issue with the RLTO, the unintended consequences are tremendous, are really awful. This ordinance, beyond everything else, uses the word shall as opposed to may when judges need to ascertain damages. So when the RLTO says that we have to post and give a tenant an updated interest rate schedule on security deposits, even if the tenant doesn't have security deposits, your failure to post with their lease an updated, meaning this current year, that exposes you to the liability, and there's no discretion. The judge can't say, that was a minor mistake. If there's a technical minor violation of all these processes, you as a landlord can get hammered with double the rent or double the security deposit, and the worst, reasonable attorney's fees. Even if you didn't do anything substantially wrong, the punishment always exceeds the violation. I don't want to call it a crime. The unintended consequence to that is that we're subjected to extortionate practices where we have no choice but to settle up or let a tenant out of the lease in November when it's very hard to find replacement tenants. What's the impact? That's money that I could be putting into cleaning my hallways, or investing in a new roof versus patching up a roof, or letting 80-year-old windows sit for another year or two, as opposed to updating and modernizing or paying for the extra money that we need for our property taxes, or having a better quality insurance so that when there is a loss, we're able to make good on things. So the unintended consequence is that it hits our bottom line. And when our bottom line is hit, oftentimes the quality of our maintenance, the rigor in which we repair our buildings can be impacted, or perhaps we have to charge more in rent. So those are, it's a whole cottage industry of lawyers are out there who are able to find clients who want out of their lease. It could be a tenant who's paying $3,500 a month and they want to move to another, they want to move out. They go to a lawyer and the lawyer says, great, I'll find some kind of violation because there's going to be one out there. Maybe they didn't get a receipt for a security deposit, or they didn't properly post the bed bug ordinance, and they'll use that and get their tenant out of the lease. And that's just really detrimental. It upsets this notion of a contract. The stability of our industry is on contracts. When the contracts aren't ironclad and we can't rely on them, it destabilizes housing, and that's bad for everyone.